Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back. So the other day a coworker from work asked me, hey Andy, what do you invest in? And I was like, dude, I can't answer that question, okay? At least not in a reasonable amount of time. So here's a 30-minute video about it. Actually, I don't know if this video is going to be 30 minutes, so we'll have to see. But yeah, today we're doing a full reveal of my entire portfolio. So I'm talking about everything. I'm going to show you guys all the cost bases and positions on my RBC portfolio, as well. I have a portfolio at Questrade, and also I have a Canadian stocks only portfolio at Wealthsimple Trade. And finally, I have some cryptocurrency, which I will show you as well. So before I start though, I realized that I have a lot of REGN fans here at the channel, okay? And I love it. And you guys will just not let me go and not let me live that down about my decision to sell REGN. So I think that that video about me selling REGN, it got a lot worse like to dislike ratio compared to my other videos. And you know what? I'll make it up to you guys, okay? I'll make you guys a deal. So every penny that I get from a referral bonus, I will invest into REGN. So I'm talking about my bonuses from ShakePay and from Wealthsimple Trade and from Wealthsimple Invest and everything, right? So granted, not all of it was from you guys. A lot of it was from just like me referring friends and family as well. But a lot of it did come from you guys as well. So I'll just count everything for the sake of simplicity. So I'll count the bonuses that I got from friends and family as well. So I've made 80 bucks so far on Wealthsimple Trade referrals. And I've made about $420 from ShakePay referrals so far. So that adds up to an even $500, which I will put into REGN stock. So if you're a REGN fan, support your favorite company down below by using one of my referral links to sign up for either ShakePay, where you can buy and sell cryptocurrency, or if you don't care about cryptocurrency, you can use the link for Wealthsimple Trade and trade stocks. Even if you don't care about REGN, you can still grab some free bonuses for yourself as well. So I will post proof of my purchase of REGN at a later date. I haven't done it yet actually, but rest assured I will. It takes a couple of days for me to deposit money into Wealthsimple Trade. I'm sure you guys know if you ever used it. So you'd be glad to hear that even as an employee of Wealthsimple, I don't get an exception, right? I'm still subject to the same rules and everything. But anyways, enough talk. Let's jump into the portfolio reveal. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut straight to the chase. Now, my main RBC portfolio right now is sitting at about 62,000 US dollars, and as you can see, what it is in Canadian up there as well. So, as of January 1st, 2021, the trailing 12-month return is sitting at just over 100%, which is pretty good if you ask me. So that means I more than doubled my portfolio on gains just within the past 12 months, mostly because of Tesla, but not all, okay? So I've had other winners as well in my portfolios, not all because of Tesla, but yeah, I do owe a lot to Elon Musk for that. So anyways, first position, starting from the smallest to the biggest, first position in this portfolio is Beyond Meat. Ticker symbol BYND, and I'm up just about 8.5% on it right now on an average cost of $129 per share, and I have 12 shares. So it's not a very big position at all. Recently we had the big rally in the stock because of a deal they made with Taco Bell. Now this is definitely good news for the company as the company continues to expand and scale. So in my opinion, this plant-based food trend is here to stay, okay? So it's not just like a fad or something, it's like a real trend that people are moving towards. And I think that more and more people are warming up to the idea of plant-based foods because it's just better in terms of sustainability, environmental friendliness, not to mention better just from an animal welfare perspective. So this industry is just gonna get bigger and bigger in the future, in my opinion. And yeah, Beyond Meat is the biggest player, or one of the biggest players at least in this industry right now. So Beyond Meat is just absolutely dominating in terms of scale in the plant-based industry, and I don't think that anyone can argue against that. How many other companies are signing up these big deals with these like big fast food chains, right? So I'm comfortable with holding this stock for the long term, and I think that they're going to continue to outperform. Anyway, so that's Beyond Meat. Now moving on, the next stock is Sofi, ticker symbol IPOE. Now I just made a video about this actually, so if you haven't watched that video, please go check it out. I said that in that video I was going to pick up a small position in this company, and I did. So this is a SPAC merger, and Sofi is the target company. So essentially what Sofi does is that they're an all-in-one mobile banking service in the United States, but they do have much more than just mobile banking, right? So they're an investing platform. You can buy crypto with it. They do home loans, student loan refinancing. They even have a credit card that's in early access, I think. So yeah, they have pretty much everything under the sun, like you name it, right? So they're already a giant in the fintech space, and this SPAC IPO has gained a lot of attention. So they're already being dubbed as the biggest SPAC IPO of 2021 so far. And I guess that's not saying much because we're in the middle of like January, but still, it's something, right? So we're up already on these 100 shares on my cost basis is about $18.72, and the stock is already north of $20. So anyways, that's Sofi. Next up, we have Regeneron, ticker symbol REGN. So this is a very recent addition to my portfolio, actually. So I'll make a separate video on this probably at some point. But just to briefly explain that these are the company or the people that made the miracle drug that was given to Donald Trump when he got the Roni. So, you know, basically he bounced back like right away, right? And Donald Trump is kind of old, so he bounced back in like 2 days after being given this Regeneron treatment. So Regeneron makes this treatment and is called the monoclonal antibody treatment, which seeks to mimic the body's immune system by targeting spots on the intruding pathogen. Now look, I'm not a doctor, okay, so I'm not sure exactly how this technology works, but at least I've seen like the end result of this technology, right? And I know that this technology is real and it works. So of course, we should do more studies on this to make sure that it's safe, and I definitely support that. However, in the meantime, it's already been made available through emergency use authorization in the United States, and as far as I could tell, I haven't heard of any like severe side effects with using this drug. But from a business perspective though, as terrible as it sounds, we all know that this pandemic is not going away anytime soon, okay? So we'll need more of these treatments, and we can expect companies like Regeneron to sell more of these things in the future. And it's not like that this is the only drug that Regeneron has, right? They also have other drugs too. And fun fact, Regeneron is actually the 6th biggest holding in ARK Invest Genomic Revolution ETF, ticker symbol ARKG. So yeah, that's Regeneron. Obviously, ARK Invest has been right about a lot of things in the past, and one of their most famous ETFs, which is ARKG, has quite a bit of Regeneron stock. So yeah, anyways, that's Regeneron. Next up, we have a bunch of positions that are unchanged, so I'm just going to quickly gloss over them. But we have Berkshire Hathaway, Microsoft, and Facebook. So these are, in my opinion, all very well-run blue-chip companies. And I know a lot of people don't like Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, and I get that, and that's fine, okay? So you know, you can't deny that though Facebook is not a company that will just disappear anytime soon, right? So if you think about the amount of people that are using Facebook on a daily basis and all their platforms continues to grow, especially platforms like Instagram and whatnot, which continues to put up crazy growth numbers quarter over quarter. And if you really want to have no affiliation with Facebook whatsoever, I think that you're going to have a hard time, at least here in the Western world, right? Unless you move to like China or something. But that comes with its own set of problems. Like, for example, I think if privacy was your concern, then moving your social media life from Facebook to WeChat, it might not be the best solution. I'm just saying, right? So moving on. Here we go. You guys know it, and this is HYLN. So I talked about HYLN a lot on this stock already, and yeah, I know I'm down pretty big on this position right now, but okay, here's what I have to say, right? First of all, I still really like the idea of HYLN, and I think that this kind of like in-between solution between like battery tech and diesel transport trucks for these like big 18-wheeler trucks, I think that this idea is really good. I also really like the management of HYLN, as I see it as a tech company being run by tech people. So the CEO of HYLN, Thomas Healy, is an engineer and he has patents to his name. So many of the other executives, although they might not be like all engineers, they obviously, a lot of them have experiences in the automotive and transportation industry, which is highly desirable when you're running like an automotive company, right? So the problem though is that they haven't really proven anything and they don't have substantial revenues yet. So that's a big question mark, right, as to whether this business model is working or is sustainable. So until they can actually generate some big stable revenues, the stock might continue to struggle. And overall, I think that they've got all the right ingredients for a successful company, and we'll just have to see where it goes. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold my shares for now, and I can definitely see this being a $200 stock sometime in the future if they manage to execute their plans properly. So yeah, we'll have to see. Okay, moving on. My last position and my biggest position is, of course, Tesla. And there's not that much to say about Tesla, to be honest. People always ask me if I'm going to sell out of my Tesla position, and guess what? My answer to that question is, right? You know that scene from Wolf of Wall Street? You know that meme? Well, yeah, that never gets old, right? Anyways, next up, I do have a call option on this portfolio. And last summer, I finally got RBC to approve me for options trading on this account. And let me tell you guys, it was a pain because I requested like 2 or 3 times over the course of like 2 or 3 years. And finally, they enabled it last summer, right? So I decided to buy a call option on Marathon Patent Group, which is a Bitcoin miner. So I talked about Bitcoin mining stocks before on this channel, and in case you forgot, I think that buying Bitcoin mining stocks is a great way to capture some of the gain in price of Bitcoin without actually buying Bitcoin. So here in Canada, the government has regulations on buying like Bitcoin directly. So you can't buy Bitcoin directly using a TFSA. So if you want to have like Bitcoin gains in a tax-free way, then I think that Bitcoin mining stocks is probably the easiest way to go and the most like efficient way to go about this, right? So in case you don't know how options work, I made a video on how options work for beginners. So please go watch that video if you haven't watched it already. I'm not going to go through the basics of how options work right now. But what I will do though is mention this specific strategy on this specific options play that I have on Marathon. So if you notice, I bought this option that is one, really far out in expiration date. So my risk is lower because I have a lot of time until the option expires, right? And number 2 is that I bought a really deep in the money call, which means that the strike price is a lot lower than the actual price of the share right now. So what this is going to do is that this is going to simulate owning the shares. Well, what does that mean? Okay, so first of all, think about how options are priced. So there's 2 components to option pricing, right? Number 1 is the intrinsic value, so the difference between the stock price and the strike price. So that's the value that you get if you can exercise the option right now. So that's the intrinsic value, and the extrinsic value, or some people call it the time value, is the premium that you have to pay for the option when you buy it. So you know, that time value is what decays until the option expires. So by buying a deep in the money call option, the majority of the value of the call option is in the intrinsic value part. So what this is going to do is this is going to give me a really low break-even point. So the stock doesn't have to go up that far for me to just break even. And again, remember what I said, it simulates owning the share. So don't worry if you didn't understand any of that. I might make a dedicated video on this actually, so stay tuned. But the question you might be asking right now is why would you buy the call options and simulate owning the shares instead of just actually owning the actual shares? So the answer is, as always, say it with me, leverage. So I spent about $1,500 on this contract, which controls 100 shares. And at the time, the shares were like $22 or $23. So buying 100 shares would have cost me $2,200 or $2,300. So I saved about $700 or $800 just by buying the call instead of buying the actual shares, and I still get about the same upside as buying 100 shares. So if you have a smaller account like me, well then this strategy might be a great way to play the stock market. Instead of buying the actual shares, you can leverage your way up, right? So anyways, that's the call options play. And lastly, for this account, I do have some SPAC warrants as well. So remember, a unit consists of 1 share and a fraction of a warrant. So what I did was I bought a bunch of units and then I split them into shares and warrants, and then I sold the shares. And I managed to sell the shares for around the same price as I bought the units. So then basically I got these warrants for free. So if you notice that these are kind of small amounts, but essentially my cost basis on them is 0 because I got them for free. So they've also gone up a lot since I split them. So I sold the shares and I kept the warrants, and they've gone up a lot. So you know, as you can see that I made some small profits on these, right? So yeah, anyways, that's it for that account. And for changes to this account, I actually did sell my Visa shares for a small profit. It was a very small gain, like 8 or 10% or something. It was just because I didn't want to dip too much into my cash reserves. So what I did was I essentially swapped Visa for Sofi. And I know that they're not exactly the same, but it's close enough, right? They're both plays in the fintech industry. And I just think that Sofi has a lot more growth and potential compared to Visa. So if I'm deciding which one I want to be in, and let's say Sofi or Visa, and I could only choose one, well, I chose Sofi. So that's it for that. And yeah, that's it for this account. Now let's move on to Wealthsimple Trade. So this is my Canadian stocks only account, and we're just going to quickly go through this because there hasn't been that many changes to this, to be honest. So in my TFSAs, I only have 2 positions, with it being Air Canada and Smart Centers. And I can already hear the REGN fans like foaming at their mouth with anger about this, right? Remember the thing I talked about with the referral bonus. I'm going to invest the referral bonuses I get from ShakePay and Wealthsimple into REGN. So yeah, if you want to support your company, your favorite company, which is REGN, links down below in the description for my referral links. So with regards to Air Canada though, I might sell this one soon actually. So I'm up quite a bit on it already. And you know, now with the pandemic flaring up again, as bad as it is now, I really think that it's going to be a long time before the airline industry really recovers. And what I will say, what I'm waiting for though, is for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to come out. So I think that that vaccine, once it comes out, is a one-shot vaccine too. So it's a lot like better. And if the efficacy is nearing the same as like the Moderna and Pfizer one, I think that this will be a pretty big boost to the airline and cruise line industry. So I'm kind of waiting for that as potentially being a selling opportunity. So yeah, we'll see where that goes. But anyways, in my RRSP, I'm holding Barrick Gold and Hive Blockchain, and I already talked about these in a previous video, so I won't talk about them again now. And you know, a lot of people down in the comments are going to call me an idiot for holding Hive in an RRSP and for holding Smart Centers in a TFSA. It should really be the other way around, right? So usually you want to put your dividend and low growth plays in a RRSP and high growth in a TFSA. So I know that, okay? So yeah, it just so happens that when I bought each one of them, I had the funds available in each perspective accounts. Yeah, it's kind of a pain to move funds between accounts in Wealthsimple Trade. I'm sure if you use Wealthsimple Trade, you know, right? So it is what it is. But anyways, moving on, Questrade. So I had this account as more of a moonshot idea and speculative bet account. So you can see that I have some of the same warrants as I do in my RBC account. I did the SPAC unit arbitrage thing I was talking about in this account too. So I do have a call on Salesforce, which is ticker symbol CRM. And I'm down quite a bit on it actually. And the reason for that is because I think it's just a little too far out of the money now that I look at it. I couldn't buy a deep in the money call like I did with Marathon because CRM is like a $200 stock, okay? So it would have been pretty expensive to buy just one contract if it was deep in the money. So as a result, if I buy a far out of the money one like I did now, I have a pretty high break even. So the stock would have to hit almost $350 by the end of, or by the beginning of 2023 for me just to break even. So I think that there's still a good chance that that might happen. So I think that long term, I'll still make money on this play. But you know, good thing is that I got a ton of time, but that's like 2 years away and we'll see how it goes, right? So, you know, I'm down like 20% on it as is, so it is what it is. One last thing I want to talk about with this account though is my call option on Riot Blockchain. And this is another play that I had on another Bitcoin miner. And as you can see that I had 2 contracts previously and at one point, but I sold one of the contracts because I was up like 70 or something percent or almost 70%. So usually when you're having a call option and you're up that big, I think it's never a bad idea to just take some chips off the table and take some profits, right? And yeah, it went down slightly after I sold the call actually. So I'm still up like 60% on the other one. So that's turning out pretty well for me so far. And lastly, like I told you guys, I'm ramping up hard on my Bitcoin position. So here is my Bitcoin portfolio, or I should say crypto portfolio, because I have Ethereum in it as well. And as you can see, I have just around half a Bitcoin or a little bit bit less, and 2.4 Ether. So I'm aiming towards an 80-20 split between Bitcoin and Ethereum, with 80 being Bitcoin. So I'm a little bit heavier on Bitcoin than I would like to be than the target. So I'll probably add more Ethereum soon. So those prices, by the way, you can see there are US dollars. So you guys can do the conversion if you're a Canadian. So I know that Bitcoin prices are extremely volatile these days, and a lot of people have been asking me on how I deal with the volatility personally. So I think that you should deal with the volatility just by not focusing on the price of Bitcoin, right? So instead of thinking of Bitcoin as like in terms of price, you should think about it as the total percentage of ownership that you have in the pie. As in, if there's only 18.5 million Bitcoins out there in the world right now, well then if you own one Bitcoin, you own 1 out of 18.5 millionth of a Bitcoin, right? Of that space. So my concern is that how do I get more percentage ownership of this pie and not like what the price of Bitcoin is, right? So therefore, I only care about percentage ownership, and that's my only concern. So the price doesn't like bother me that much. So if I'm right though, and Bitcoin hits like 500K per coin, well then it's not gonna matter if you bought in at like 40K or 30K or something like that, right? So that's it. That's my rant on Bitcoin, and let me know what you guys think. So if you've been keeping track at home, if you add up all the portfolio that I just presented and all the investments, it's roughly around 150,000 Canadian dollars. So it's somewhere around there. Again, it changes a lot day by day depending on the volatility of all the different assets that I have, right? So anyways, I'm not focused on that though. Remember, my goal is to get to $1 million in investable assets by 35, and I'm 25 now, so I got 10 years to go. So yeah, long way to go still, but not a bad start if you ask me. So anyways, thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end of this video. I know it's been a really long video, so be sure to hit a thumbs up if you like this video, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, links down below in the description as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.